Hey guys, so today we're going to be doing a video on checking the TPMS system. I purchased an Autel, I think it's like a 508 Pro or something. I'll obviously link everything. And it's a newer device, so I figured I would do a video on kind of how to use it generally in case anyone else gets a similar device. I would imagine if you at least get an Autel, it would be pretty comparable. So I'm in a Corolla right now. All right, so let's power up the device. Hold this for 2 seconds. So in the instruction manual, if you buy an Autel, I'm sure it'll tell you to update your device. For this particular device, I had to download an application, and with the application, you then plug this in and it updates it. Some you can do wired, some you do wireless. For me, I kind of prefer wired because I just don't want to have a problem with the device updating over Wi-Fi. It crashes and then the whole unit gets bricked. So I didn't mind getting this wired unit. So now it's turned on, it's at its home page. Before you even do anything, I'd recommend you go to My Device. We have our arrows, we have our kind of like our sensor key, and then yes and no. So yes is pretty much like enter. So we'll enter My Device. Update by USB would be what you would do when you go to update, but at this point you should have already completed any updates available. We'll go to settings. I don't know why it's not plural. Market, it'll ask you like what region you're in when you first turn it on. Obviously, I'm in America. And then I left everything alone. Pressure unit was on kilopascal, so I changed that to PSI. And then temperature unit was also Celsius, and I changed that to Fahrenheit. And I turned the beep off because I found it very annoying. It has an auto power off, so I have mine on like the minimum setting, I think. And then yeah, that's pretty much it. So we can back out of here. So I'd recommend starting with that so you're not confused about the units. So then we have TPMS, we have toolkit, latest test, which just kind of pulls up like the last thing you've done. And then I haven't used this enough to have anything in the review data. So I don't know if you do a test or a diagnostic and you can save that data and review it later if you need to, but I imagine it would be there. Under toolkit, if we go yes, enter, we have the RKE and RF monitor. That's basically to test your keys. So I have a key here. I've found that if you just kind of put it on top here, on top of the console, that's the best spot for it to test. So let's try this. So it says press any fob. So you picked it up that time, so kind of up here. To me, it's really not that great. I tried going from the top, the bottom, the side, going through it, putting the scanner between me and the car, and it was just doing a lot of weird stuff. So you picked up 5%, but for me, I had the best luck just putting it right in this face, and I would get 80%, 90%, whatever, just to see if your fob even has battery, or if it's even sending signal. So I guess that's fine. It's a somewhat useful tool. Let's say you knew your sensor was bad, or your light's flashing, or your light won't go off. You turn your device on, all it does is power it on. We're going to go Y to go into TPMS. It's already on Toyota. Let me go. You can go around the world, which is nice. Z, and now we're at A. So normally it'll be, I think, here when you first get it. So you can just see there's just manufacturers for days. In the US, I mean, you might have to pick from like 25 average person cars, so this is just crazy. So we're gonna go all the way down Toyota. Like I said, if you're a Volvo, you could just press up and you can go around the world, which is nice. Toyota, we'll press Y for yes. It's already on Corolla because I already did this. Corolla, yes, but obviously, if you guys really want to see just how many vehicles they have in here, supposedly this thing will do like 90%, 95% is what Autel says, which is pretty cool. So that's that. Corolla, Y. And then we look for our year ranges. So we can see on the top, that's 19 to 24. We're not that new. We are in the 13 to 21. But then you see it says 315 megahertz and then like a code. Before, I could have sworn I had another option. So there was two options. So just be clear on what you're looking for. Some it's like Japanese market for Toyotas or American. So I thought I had the option for Japanese or American, but now it's just giving me this. So point is, I fit in this year range. This is a 2014, so we're right in the middle of this. We'll press enter again. Now we're at here. This, once you have your car and you see it scrolling on the top, once you have your car set, this will be like your home base. So you can program a sensor if you just already know what you've done. You've already done the diagnostic. You can do a relearn. Some cars, if you rotate or you change pressures, you have to do a relearn for it to update. I think that's an older TPMS systems. And then information. What is information? Oh, just about sensors, locations, and your OBD2 port location. Okay. So I'm going to run us through the diagnostics. I'll be outside. I'm not really going to be talking much. Basically, I'm just going to go to each wheel, and you go by the tire sidewall. Most people go by the rim, but I don't know if metal would be causing an interference, but I've always been told to do it on the sidewall of the tire. On other manufacturers of TPMS systems like this. So we're just clicking the center button once, the sensor button right there, Wi-Fi looking thing. This is the bad one. Okay, so it's getting a duplicate of the other tire. Now I'm going to scroll down to trunk, which you have to do whether you have it or not. Because it will not let you move on to the OBD2 portion until you do this. So I'm going to point it at this because I'm curious. But if you knew for certain you didn't have one, you could just point this thing to space, you know, and let it just pick up nothing. But you have to do this. You won't get to move on without like testing for it. And once it says, you know, fail or pass, whatever, whether you have one or not, then you can move on and you'll see this next screen that we're about to get. Okay, what does it say? Well, you guys didn't get to see it, but it pulled up an X for that, meaning no TPMS sensor, which is correct. All right, we're back in the car. I just put the ignition to its second position, so not accessory, but one more after that, and then obviously not in the running position. Turn this radio off. So one side is already connected to the OBD2 port. This is the other side. It has some knurled knobs here so that you can connect this without it disconnecting. But since you use this device a lot with it unconnected, I would just kind of press it in and leave it at that. So this is the page that you need to get to so that you can get kind of like the full diagnostic of what you did. So if you feel like you're stuck on that last page that I showed you and you're not getting to the connect to OBD, then you need to make sure you're doing that fifth sensor. And like I said, if you know you don't have one, just scan to the floor, it doesn't matter, and then it'll say, okay, it didn't pick up anything, and it'll let you move on. So now it's going to cross-reference the data it pulled from your live sensors to the data on the ECM, or on the computer of the car. So it's saying it read it successfully, and it read any DTCs, any stored data. So I just pressed enter. So the green means that it's like obviously connected via OBD2. You see the little broadcasting sensor, that means that matches. And usually some cars will give you even a battery indicator. So if it was low, it would tell us. So I'm pretty sure I have a sensor that's completely out of battery or damaged. So when we pull it out, that'll be really interesting to see. But you can see here, it's pulled up 4 sensors. And then if we kind of just dial around, right now it's on that TPMS logo. You see that? The orange kind of rectangle. That'll let us view DTCs, but if we go left, we can view the info or the details for this driver front. I guess it just happens to pull up all of them. So you can see we have a hexadecimal ID number. And basically what will happen is On the right is the list from the ECM, and on the left is the actual physical sensors. So it didn't pick up a sensor for my left-right tire, but the ECM is aware of what that sensor was last programmed as. So what the Autel system is able to do is take their MX sensor and you create a clone of what your ECM is used to. So you're not really like reprogramming your TPMS module for a new sensor, because that would be kind of require more powerful hardware or more powerful software. So what you're doing is you're just creating a clone of what you used to have. So that's what makes this tool very like advantageous, and I would say very applicable to many cars, because you're not having to technically reprogram. You're just cloning what you used to have. So that's what makes this beneficial. So you can see a bunch of data here. You can page up, page down, pressures, temperatures, batteries. Okay, sometimes depending on the car, you can supposedly see actual levels, but this tire doesn't support it. So I clicked yes on the TPMS logo, and now we're looking at the DTCs. So we can see in the past, we've had a history of that ID1 was not sending, and even beyond that past, we had another history where ID3 was not sending. So I'm pretty sure ID1 is I think my main issue, or maybe I'm confused. I have them backwards. But I did this prior, and instead of saying history right here, where's my finger? History. The top one was current, and then this one was history. It could have been mismatched, but point is, one was current, one was history, and that just shows that at one point it read in the past that a sensor wasn't working, but if it's current, then it's saying right now you currently have a problem with that ID not censoring. So point is, we know that we have one out, but in case you want to read DTCs, or maybe you have a more robust system and it has more data to tell you, this is where you would get that information. So we'll press N to get back out of here. If I go around the sensors here and I'm just pressing up and down, it says this matches the ECU and that the sensor's okay, right? We go down here, it matches the ECU, which is important, but the sensor is bad, which is obviously bad, but we understand that. We go to details. It's just going to give us a breakdown so we can see which obviously all the IDs match. So what we're going to do is basically clone the left-right value or name, in a sense, that 07430CA. We're going to clone that to our new sensor. I have the MX right here, so I'm going to get it out, and we're going to do that together. So I'm going to just press no to exit. And then I'll just show you guys this, because I don't think I got to last time. So now we have a current TPMS DTC of 2121, which basically just means our ID transmitter ID1 is not getting received, which we knew. Program sensor. Copy by OBD. Yes. Oh, so this is important. So we need to remember which one it was. So this is a good learning thing for everybody. I remember finishing it with CA. It reminded me of California. So we're going to be doing that. So I'm going to press yes for copy, because we're on the one that we want it to be on. So we want every other sensor away, and we want the other one close by. So I need to do that. I did not expect that to be so quick. Okay, this thing was in the box, a foot to the right, 2 feet to the right, and the little status bar came up, and it said programming sensor. I had it to my right here in the passenger seat, and then it tested it, and it said it's fine. And then this makes sense too. It's obviously right here, so it's not installed in the car, so the pressure is reading, no PSI. Temperature makes sense too. Wow, so we're literally done already. Didn't even mean to do it that fast. So definitely very important. Do not have other sensors nearby. It does say 4 feet away. This thing was 2 feet away to the right, and it still freaking picked it up. So yeah, let's go continue. It's done, and it's showing a little sensor saying that that one has been done. So let's exit. Honestly, I don't think there's much more to do. We have to physically install this. I have my own manual tire changer. All I have to do is break the bead. I guess I'll show you guys that if you really want to see it. I'll just kind of show the final step, not the setup per se. And then I'll show you what it's like to actually remove this. Granted that you can break the bead, and what my old sensor looked like, which I'm really excited to see finally. All right, we got the stand installed. This is the tire, obviously full of air. Break the bead, we don't want air. Let's remove the valve core. This thing will shoot out if you guys have never messed with these before. So put a little pressure downward, and that's the core right there. What I was gonna say is we only need to break the bead on this side. You don't need to take the whole tire off or break both sides. So obviously I don't want to break the sensor even though it's already messed up. So I'll just kind of pry here. Hard with one hand. Okay, so that broke, and then now that that goes, I'll just kind of step on this and help it to break along the rest. You want to do this just so you get space to work on it. I think I have to use the tool. So basically I'm just going to work this thing, spin the tire, and work it so I have this gap all the way around, okay? Alright guys, we are back. As you can see, the top of the sensor is there. That's what we're used to seeing. This is not what we're used to seeing. So it's very important, once you get close and you're at the step, you find the socket that will fit on here. In my experience, it's always been an 11, maybe a 10 sometimes, if it's kind of worn down. But basically, with this tire machine, they give you this big rod, and I'm tucked in there. If I push down, we get a nice view of the sensor. Now you can see there's plenty of room for it to drop down, there's space, but you have to hold this rod down to get access. So basically, I'll kind of like straddle this, and then I'll loosen the top, and what I really do not want to happen is for that sensor to drop down, because it's just so annoying to fish it out. So my hand will just be beneath the bottom of the sensor while my right hand loosens the top, and the sensor has to drop so that you can clear that stem. But aside from dropping the sensor, there's really nothing else you're worried about. No other parts to really come off. And then I'll show you how the new sensor would go in, okay? I guess I can loosen this maybe a little on camera. This shouldn't be very tight. So that is already loose, so now I can just go with my finger and spin this, and eventually this will run out of thread and the sensor will want to drop out. Okay, I'm gonna risk a chance here just to show you guys. I don't think it's gonna drop. So this is off, this thing's free. So let's get this better purchase. Okay, so now, oh, I didn't even get to show you. Now the sensor's free. I'm gonna have to use two hands so I have to put this down, but you can see it's coming out. It might be a good idea to just kind of peek in here. See if you have any fluid or anything weird that might have damaged the old sensor if you feel like you didn't get the life that you should have gotten out of your sensors. Because you'd hate to have water in here and then just splash it on your new sensor. You see this little spacer right here? We would want to get that out and clean there, and then rub your hand on the inside of there, just so you have the best smooth surface for a nice seal. So we'll do that, and I'll show you what the new sensor looks like. So before I put this in, I wanted to show one cool feature. MX advertises that these sensors, you can see the press button right there. You can leave the core installed on the wheel. Obviously, you still got to break the bead and do everything we just did. But if you needed to replace this sensor, you would just push, and the bottom of the sensor comes off. So basically, the core would remain in your wheel. It would be on there, and you could pull the bottom off and just slide a new one on, which is cool. I mean, for me, these things last long enough that if you're replacing it, I would kind of prefer to have like nice little rubber pieces and all that stuff here. So we'll take the valve cap off. Show you guys just the components of it. Then we have our locking cap, which is what we use the 11 mil for. And then you can see the old spacer there. You don't want to use two of those. You want to use new stuff. I cleaned this whole, I mean, you just don't want like an old beat up seal there or stuff like that, or just crud, because then you might have problems if this bottom seal starts to kind of give way. That's like your last little chance for sealing, even though this rubber pretty much does all the sealing from down below. So this is what it would look like. We'll just feed it from the bottom, which I can't really do with one hand. We'll feed it from the bottom, and then we'll go spacer, and then lock nut, and then it's installed. And we can just air the tire back up to get the bead to lock. I will put a little soapy water just to kind of aid it, but I just wanted to show that feature before we get to there. So the new sensor is in. One thing I noticed compared to the OEM sensors is the valve core will obviously be tight because that's where you just tighten down, but the sensors on these remain loose because of that kind of quick disconnect feature. So I used to always hold on to those in the past and tighten the top and then tighten until these were like firm, but obviously it'll never be firm because of that quick disconnect. So you're just looking to tighten this. Obviously check for leaks after, but that's it. So I have my tire inflator connected. I did not remove the new valve core because I have a little bit of soapy water and the gap is not crazy. I'm gonna try it like this. What's nice about this inflator is I can push that button and then tweak the tire around to try to get it to seal. But if we can't get it to seal, because obviously the valve core restricts the flow, we'll just remove the valve core. So I don't think I can do this. Well, let's just try. So I had put some mostly soapy water here inside the valve core, just a tiny bit, and then around the edges there. So if we have any kind of enlarging bubbles and we know we have air escaping. So I wanted to show you that. I would recommend you do that before you move it from the tire machine, just so you're not having to take it off, load it on, take it off, load it on, just because you maybe didn't tighten that thing enough. The clone sensor is back in the tire. Everything's torqued down to pressure. So I haven't done anything after the last part where you guys saw I programmed the sensor as far as on the Autel device. Obviously, I replaced the sensor. So I'm going to just turn the car on and see if it'll automatically notice that the new clone sensor is there. So let's find out. See how it flashed once and then now it's staying illuminated? So that would be what you would see if you had a low pressure light. So in my opinion, if we drive, I think it'll just turn off. So let's try that. All right, back in the car, ignition on. Let's see what it's got to say now. The most hilarious thing is happening now. Now it doesn't want to read my right rear sensor. And I had one issue going around the last time that it took forever to read that one, whereas prior to that, it was reading every other sensor perfect. So now this 2121 is now history, which is cool. So I will go ahead and press this to erase them. Yes, I'm sure. Wow, and that turned my light off. I'm just gonna reconnect. Pull codes if there is any. So as you saw last time, our left rear was the one that's out. I think the battery is low. I mean, this car is at the point where they should all really be replaced, but I just wanted to do a video on one so you guys can see. I'll turn it on right now. The TPMS light is not on. So we are back in the car. I replaced the second sensor that was going out in the right rear. After programming the sensor, like we saw with the last sensor, I was suspicious that once it's programmed that the car would just recognize after driving. So that would be true, granted that you replaced, you know, all the sensors that are low and you didn't have this weird intermittent sensor on the way out while you're replacing your other sensors. So let's just say you have your lights on, you replace a sensor, or you replace all 4 sensors because you know that they're all about to be out or one's out or you just don't want to deal with it. If you replace all 4 and you program each one, then you install them and you have a Toyota or a Lexus, you could just drive and they'll be okay. You don't have to do anything else with the tool afterwards. But obviously you can see the engine's running. I have an extra box Another thing that I really am mad at myself that I didn't take a picture of the last sensor, but on Amazon, for those of you buying sensors, one of these was advertised as the 2024 newest, which from a battery standpoint sounds good, but batteries for sensors actually don't wake up until they're activated. So you can buy, obviously, like an MX that was manufactured in 2020 compared to 2023, let's say. But they're stating that the 24 uses the 88 architecture for their chip or something like that. And I did see an 88 after looking on the sensor of the new one. But the one yesterday, I meant to take a picture of, because it's always good to have a picture of it before it's in the tire, because then it's hard to get to. But these part numbers match at the bottom on both boxes. Literally everything is like identical, so I don't see any difference. I do have some old Autel sensors that are MX as well, and they have 87 written on them, whereas this is 88. But I'm pretty sure the other one I used was an 88. I guess there's really no way to know now. But after buying these two sensors, I am going to purchase a pack of 20. I'll link it. I think JB Tools has like the best deal. They're about 30 MSRP. I paid 28 for these. And I think at JB, if you buy 20, which obviously is an investment, I think they come down all the way to like 17 per sensor. This is all pre-tax, by the way, but you just want to let you guys know everything worked out great. I definitely recommend this tool. If you guys have more questions or you want me to do a video showing something else on this tool, even though that's pretty much it, just let me know. I could clear the DTCs if there were any, but I can't imagine there are. So yeah, this thing's golden. Recommend for sure. I'll link everything down below if you guys are interested.